November 2011, my mother, Rosa, my 3 kids, 7, 9, and 12 years old. And I moved into a rental home at 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. At first, everything seemed normal. It wasn't much, but it was ours. A fresh start, or so I thought. But not long after we settled in, things started to feel off. Small things at first, strange noises, odd chills, the kind of moments you try to brush off as imagination. But deep down, I could feel it. Something in that house wasn't right, and soon, it would make sure we knew it. It started with the flies. Huge black flies clinging to our screened-in porch in the dead of winter. No matter how many we killed, they kept coming back. I remember thinking, this isn't normal, but it was only the beginning. Then came the footsteps. Late at night, my mum and I would both hear someone moving in the basement. Slow, deliberate footsteps, as if someone was walking up the stairs, heading straight into the kitchen. But every time we checked, there was no one there. Even after we locked the basement door, the sound never stopped. It was like whoever or whatever Hannah was down there didn't care about doors. But the peace never lasted long. The air inside the house grew heavier, colder. We'd wake up to strange noises, to whispers that didn't belong to any of us. Things started moving on their own. A chair sliding across the floor, a door creaking open when no wind blew. And then, things got worse, much worse. It was March 10th, 2012, a quiet, heavy day. My family and I had gathered to mourn the loss of a loved one. Grief already filled the air, but what happened that night? There are no words for it. My 12-year-old daughter was in her room when it started. One moment she was lying on her bed. The next, she was in the air, floating. Her body lifted up slowly, as if some invisible force had taken hold of her. My mother gasped and cried out, "What's going on? Why is this happening?" We were frozen, terrified, watching something we couldn't understand. Her eyes were closed, her body stiff. We prayed, screamed, tried to pull her down, but it was like she wasn't even there anymore. We prayed harder than we ever had in our lives that night. My mom, my relatives, everyone crying, shouting, begging God to help her come down. And finally, she did, slowly, gently, like something had just let her go. The room was silent for a long time, then chaos. My family members who'd been visiting ran out of the house, terrified. My mum and I just sat there, shaken, holding my daughter, knowing we couldn't ignore it anymore. We needed help, but help wasn't easy to find. Most of the local churches didn't take us seriously. Some wouldn't even return our calls. One pastor finally listened and said we might be dealing with spirits. He told us to clean the house with bleach and ammonia, to draw oil crosses on every door and window. We did everything he said, but it didn't stop. 2 clairvoyants came later. They looked around, whispered to each other, and then told us something that made my stomach twist. They said the house was filled with spirits. Not 1, not 10, 200. Their advice was simple: move out, but we couldn't. And whatever was in that house knew it. The kids started changing. They'd speak in low, growling voices that didn't sound human. They'd whisper things like, "It's time to die," or "I will kill you." Their eyes would bulge. Their faces would twist into smiles that didn't belong to them. I began feeling strange too, dizzy, overheated, like something was crawling inside my skin, trying to take control. I told the Indianapolis Star later, "You can tell it's different. Something supernatural." My youngest son would talk to someone no one else could see. A little boy, he said. Sometimes he'd be yanked and thrown across the room by invisible hands. My daughter started hearing voices telling her death was coming, that she'd never see us again. My children began missing school. They couldn't sleep. They couldn't eat. Every night felt darker than the one before. And soon the doctors and the police started getting involved. On April 19th, 2012, I took my kids to see our family doctor, Dr. Jeffrey Onyukwu. By that point, I was desperate. We all were. I needed someone to tell me what was happening to my children, that there was some kind of explanation. But as soon as we walked into his office, I could see the worry in his eyes. He watched the kids, how their voices dropped low, how they spoke in ways no child should ever speak. He later told the Indianapolis Star, 20 years, and I've never heard anything like that in my life. I was scared myself when I walked into the room. While we were there, things took a horrifying turn. According to the report later filed by the Department of Child Safety, one of my sons suddenly flew backward through the air, as if something invisible had thrown him, and hit the wall with such force that it stunned everyone in the room. No one had touched him. Then the same boy started walking backward, up the wall. He went all the way up to the ceiling, flipped over my mother, and landed on his feet. I'll never forget the screams that followed. A nurse and the DCS caseworker who saw it ran out of the room in sheer terror. Even after everything we'd been through, seeing it happen in front of strangers, in front of professionals, made it terrifyingly real. But still, some people didn't believe. They thought the kids were being abused, or that I was making it up. The Department of Child Safety decided my children were in danger, not from spirits, but from me. They took them away. I was heartbroken, completely broken. We had survived so much together, fought through fear, through things no mother should ever have to see. We were finally starting to believe we could overcome it. And then they tore us apart. As I told the Indianapolis Star, it was obvious we were a team, and we were beating it, whatever we were fighting. We made it through together as a team, and they separated us. After they took my kids away, the house felt emptier, but somehow darker. I wasn't living there anymore, yet it was like that place still breathed, still watched. Soon after, the Department of Child Safety invited the Ammons Police Department to do a walkthrough of the house. My mother went with them. I wasn't there that day, but I remember the look on her face when she told me what happened. According to their official report, even the officers, hardened men who'd seen everything, started to experience things they couldn't explain. Their radios began malfunctioning the moment they stepped inside. One officer took a photo and later saw what looked like a white, smoky figure hovering near the staircase. Another captured a faint, ghostly voice on his recording. A whisper that simply said, "Hey." When they returned for a second visit, they noticed something new. A thick, oily substance dripping down the blinds, as if the house itself was sweating something foul. Around that same time, a local priest, Father Michael Maginot, heard about our story and decided to help. He came to the house, walked through the rooms, prayed in every corner. He later told me he could feel the presence, heavy, suffocating, alive. He wrote to his bishop requesting permission to perform an exorcism. While waiting for approval, he performed a small one, right there in the house, with 2 police officers and a DCS case manager by his side. The case manager told the Indianapolis Star, "You could feel it, like someone was standing right behind you, breathing down your neck." Even they, people who didn't believe at first, walked out shaken, pale and silent. Reverend Maginot didn't give up on us. He performed not 1, but 3 exorcisms, each one more intense than the last. The first 2 were small, private sessions, filled with prayers, holy water, and the smell of incense. But it was the third one that finally broke whatever had its grip on me. During that final ritual, one of Father Maginot's associates burned a piece of paper with the demon's name written on it. As the smoke rose, I remember feeling a sudden lightness in my chest, like a weight I'd carried for months had finally been lifted. For the first time in a long while, I could breathe. I felt normal again. Afterward, my mother and I moved back to Indianapolis. Slowly, life began to feel real again. I got my children back in November 2012, and for the first time in what felt like forever, our family was whole. We tried to heal. We tried to forget. The house, that cursed place on Carolina Street, was eventually bought by paranormal investigator Zak Bagans. He went inside, filmed his documentary, and later tore the house down in 2016. Still, he kept pieces of the basement, the same basement where it all began, and displayed them in his Las Vegas museum. But as for us, We've never gone back. We never will. When you hear something like this, I told the Indianapolis Star, don't assume it's not real, because I've lived it. I know it's real.